All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of From the Nosebleeds. I am not alone today. I am your host, Dan Carcamo, but I have two special co-hosts today. You met him once, you've met him twice. You have from Nayo.com, you got Evan. You can check him out at Nayo.com. He has funny skits and stuff like that. He's really funny. He did some stand-up. I definitely encourage you guys to check him out. And then from USA Today Sports and Fansided.com, talk about Mets and Giants. We got Pat Regazzo, my dear friend. How you doing today?
I'm good, Dan. Thanks for having me on again.
All right, so this is the first time they're meeting, so I'm really excited to see what they have to say about it. But today's topics are going to be the NFL draft. A lot of opinions, guys. What do you think so far?
There were, for the draft in total, there were definitely clear winners and losers. Between the Jets and the Giants obviously did a way better job. I mean, I think the Giants, they were the worst pick. They did the worst in the draft for any team this year.
All right.
Definitely my opinion. I mean, they way overdrafted Daniel Jones. I don't know why they picked him first overall, first for them overall and sixth overall for the draft. I think that was a very big
reach.
Jump. Yeah, big reach. He would have been available at 17 and probably even later than that. I don't know what they were thinking.
All right, Pat, what are your thoughts?
I have to disagree. I think that the Giants actually did better than the Jets overall in the draft. The Daniel Jones pick was obviously a reach at 6, but I mean, if you're looking at a quarterback and he's your guy, you don't risk waiting until the 17th pick to have him scooped up by either the Redskins, Dolphins, and Broncos all picking before them. Broncos actually traded out of the 10 spot, which allegedly was due to the fact that Jones was taken at 6. It was obviously a little disappointment and a bit of a reach as the 6th best player in the draft, which Jones is clearly not. Josh Allen was there on the board. He was an elite pass rusher and would have boosted this defense right away, especially with the Giants going back to Eli Manning this year and the defense being a huge problem the last 2 seasons. That's a little disappointing, but they did wind up making up for that, getting Dexter Lawrence with their second first-round pick, and then trading back into the end of the rounds to get DeAndre Baker, who's been a lockdown corner for Georgia, who he only gave up, I think, 1 touchdown in his whole collegiate career.
Yeah, so it was the last 2 years he basically gave up 1 touchdown, and no one threw to him. They were dared him to throw him, and no one wanted to throw to him. He had 50% throws his way and stuff like that. And then out of a whole game, that's very minimum throws. That's 3 throws out of 25 or so. So it's just he is really good, and I'm in the middle. I'm actually really in the middle of both of you guys. I feel that I don't think we did great, but I don't think it was the worst thing we could have done either. I definitely think Jones was a reach.
They did better in later picks. You're right about that. Dexter Lawrence is a good pick. He may have been a little bit of I don't know if he was great as their second pick, but I think that he is he is going to be a good pick, and I can't disagree with the pick. The other thing I was saying about the Jets is the Jets obviously need to work on their defense, and they picked Quinnen Williams. He's a great pick, and he's a good he's 3rd overall. That's a solid pick, and that's something they really need, especially now that they got what's his name, Le'Veon Bell now. So they need defense to be able to work on their running game. Their QB, if they have a good running back, QB isn't even as important. Look at what the Bills did with McCoy. You don't need, if you have good running game, they can take off pressure from the QB.
Going back to that old school Jets defense and run the ball, gridiron defense and exactly. Running the ball, ground and pound. What about you, Pat? What do you think about that?
Not to take away what the Jets did, I think the Jets did well, and this is definitely the most talented team they've had since those back-to-back AFC Championship teams in 2009 and 2010. Bringing in Quinnen Williams was a great pick. I mean, it was a no-brainer. He was a top 3 defensive player in the draft, and immediately gives their defense a boost. They also brought in Polite, who was kind of a reach, but they drafted him from Florida in the 3rd round, and with the right coaching, I think he could wind up being a very good player for that defense. So they definitely upgraded their defensive line, and they actually got West Virginia's tight end, who some have called the baby Gronk, who's a great blocker and a very, very good pass catcher and one of Will Greer's favorite targets.
Well, hopefully they bring him for the on-field purposes of Gronk, not the after-retired Gronk partying it up jumping up on bars and everything like that.
Yeah, I saw a video of that today. It's hilarious, actually. I'm actually rooting for him. I mean, like, I obviously I've never liked the Patriots. Still don't like the Patriots, but like, Gronk's the man. I'll be honest.
I mean,
He's
he's living life. But
Yeah.
I agree. I think for where they were, and obviously the first two players that were taken, he just made sense, and he fits into any system. Basically, any team wanted him. They do a 3-4, they do a 4-3. He's gonna work in that system either way. Bull rushing, and he's a big boy, so he's gonna and he's in Alabama, so they know how to play, and I think he's gonna contribute right away. Maybe all rookie team, possibly Pro Bowl if he goes that way. But I think they just hit it right on the head. And going back to the Giants real quick though, I definitely, like I said, I'm in between you guys. I don't you're saying that they could have drafted, Daniel Jones not at 17. I just think in the first overall where we had our picks, I think that we could have gotten a little bit more talent from who we got. I mean, Dexter Lawrence, I like the pick, but if you said a year ago, I think that's an awesome pick. A year ago, Dexter Lawrence is definitely, a steal at 17. This year, he definitely had more help. There was already 2 Clemson players taken before him. So obviously he had a better supporting cast, so you didn't see as much of him dominating, as last year. And then like DeAndre Baker, I mean, obviously we traded up to get him, traded back into the first round. So 3 first overall picks. I think that it's a solid, but I definitely think for where we were, overall talent, we could have gotten better. I mean, I think the Redskins, I just wanted to torch us both ways for being in our division. They got Haskins and Sweat, who I know you were a big fan of as well,
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I think that I would have been down if the Giants took Haskins over Jones. Yeah, he's solid. He's solid. I was looking at his record for Ohio
We
State.
won't know until they play.
That's
Haskins
true. That's true.
First, he's gonna come in and compete with Case Keenum and probably wind up winning the starting job if he has a good camp in preseason.
Absolutely.
And definitely he has the opportunity there, but it's it's going to be unfair to compare the two until we see Jones play. It'll take a couple years to figure out who's better, and honestly, even if Haskins is the better statistical quarterback, and all that really matters for the Giants is that, and for Jones is that he comes in and wins games and hopefully eventually Super Bowl.
What do you think the Giants are going to do to replace the hole that was left when they traded away Odell?
I mean, I think that they have a pretty talented cast there right now. They signed Golden Tate. They have Sterling Shepard, who they just extended. Evan Ingram had a great end to his season last year. They went out. So this is one of the bigger steals of the draft, actually. Their 6th round pick was Darius Slayton, the wide receiver from Auburn.
Right.
He was to go between rounds 3 and 5, and Gettleman grabbed him in the 6th. He runs a 4.3. And he's a very polished route runner. He was a really good vertical threat for Auburn, and that's something this group was missing for the Giants. And I think that's going to be a great addition. About Odell, he was at the Met Gala last night in New York, his first time back since being traded.
Right.
And he admitted that he was asked about the recent breakup, and he admitted he wasn't happy and that he had a feeling, he sensed that he was going to be traded. And honestly, I think it was just better for both sides at this point. He's loved by his teammates. I'm not saying he's a bad teammate, but he was a major distraction. And for this team rebuilding, it's better to have built the team around Barkley, and have Gettleman bring his own.
Solid, yeah. I think he's gonna do really well. He had a solid rookie year. He's gonna be a star for sure.
Sky's the limit. Like, I think that if he stays healthy this year, he's gonna make the jump to best running back in the league. And he pretty much already took over that title in the end of the season. He got snubbed from the All-Pro list. Todd Gurley got the first one deservingly, and then Zeke got number 2. But when you look at the numbers, Barkley had the 27th ranked offensive line, and Zeke had number 9, and Zeke only had more rushing yards than him. And Barkley had beat him in every other category and was a much better receiver.
I think that once the Giants work on their O-line, those numbers will definitely go up. Like, the Cowboys have an insane O-line. That's one of Ezekiel's main strengths. So.
Absolutely. They weren't as good because of some injuries. The Cowboys' O-line was not as good last year. They were kind of plugging in some new guys, but they were still, I'd say, above average. Definitely, something that's helped that team become successful along with their defense. I'm glad you brought up offensive line for the Giants because they still have a hole at right tackle, which needs to be filled before the season starts. The offensive line certainly improved once they got a good right guard in there last year in the second half in Jamon Brown. They ultimately upgraded this offseason to Kevin Zeitler from the Browns, who they traded Olivier Vernon for. And that was a great trade by Gettleman because the Giants were probably just going to release
And he was an older player, not performing as much either. So, I agree with you there where, they got great value for, obviously he can still produce, but obviously, and is still a great leader, but, you can tell that he lost a step, possibly even 2 steps, and he wasn't just performing to what we brought him in for, when we brought in that defensive haul a couple years ago.
Back-to-back seasons he missed, I think about 12 combined games
right.
with the same high ankle sprain that he had, and he's just someone he wasn't staying on the field, and he would have his moments, but then in other games he would go invisible. He actually finished the season off nice. I think he finished with around 8 sacks and had a couple of good games to end the season. But it's just, it wasn't, if you're rebuilding, it's, you gotta cut ties with the high expensive players who can't stay on the field for you and rebuild through the draft. And Gettleman had a good draft class last year, and hopefully he has the same this year. He definitely upgraded the cornerback group, getting Julian Love in the 4th round, who was another steal.
Yeah,
he was projected to either go in the 2nd or 3rd round, and they got him in the 4th. And I think Love actually was a pass breakup machine at Notre Dame. He had 36 in the last 2 seasons, including 20. He led college football with 20 his junior year 2 years ago for the Irish. And Love and Baker actually are 2 finalists for the Jim Thorpe Award, which is the best DB in college football.
Right, absolutely.
So that's really going to be nice to have those 2 guys come in and boost that secondary, which was a huge problem last year.
So I'm going to give 2, I'm going to ask both of you, and I'm going to give my opinion as well. So I'm going to ask for 2 grades. One for overall draft, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit after. Best offseason moves so far, to whether, obviously the Jets signing Le'Veon Bell, like you mentioned, Evan, one of the most desired running backs in the game, both a passing and rushing threat, who's led the league in multiple categories for the last few years, and or one of the biggest signings that maybe not as a big name, a star tier, but Golden Tate that you brought up, a solid wide receiver who really came into his own after Calvin Johnson, retired and really stepped up, and then he got bounced around obviously with the Eagles last year. Didn't do quite as much, but still a solid player in what he could bring into that Giants offense. So let's start off with the draft. What do you give the Giants overall draft, and then the Jets? Let's start with you, Pat.
I give the Giants a B- for their draft. I think that the defense was a mid-top priority coming into this offseason, and I think it was addressed with the majority of their picks going to defensive players, and some hopefully who you can hope will come in and be immediate starters, at least rather quickly. They spent their 3rd round pick on the first Old Dominion player drafted to the NFL in O'Shane Examines, who he was a pretty elite pass rusher in college, having 12 sacks and 18.5 tackles for a loss last season. So I think that the Giants' defense will be a lot better. I think they're going to surprise some people. Jones, only time will tell with him on how he develops, but sitting behind Eli, at least to start this year, you hope he's going to learn some things and, come in with the right coaching and succeed and win games for this team. I know, like we mentioned before, the running back takes pressure off your quarterback. So once Jones is ready to play, he's going to have a heck of a running back in Saquon Barkley to support him.
And open up the passing game and to get those the first easy passes of, short slants and stuff like that to get them going. That's always, you don't need an elite quarterback nowadays. Like you said, you just, maybe a game manager, maybe that's the route we want to go with. Since we have, Saquon and like a decent amount of, threats of Ingram, hopefully Sterling can do a little bit better. Obviously Golden Tate has proven himself. So it's a good cast around him for a young quarterback.
And it opens up the play action game, which again, very easy for a young quarterback to come in and work with that. And Jones definitely has a lot of skills and talent. He's one of the most athletic players to ever play quarterback for the Giants franchise. He's a very fast, very mobile quarterback. And he has the ability to extend plays with his legs and throw on the run, which is something that this offense needs. Even if they don't, they absolutely do need to upgrade right tackle. But even if they don't, to have even an average, slightly above average line, which I believe that they do right now at this day, that'll help out Jones a lot. And as for the Jets, I'd give the Jets a B+ because they didn't have many picks to work with after they traded a bunch to trade up for Darnold last year, but They did get some good players, and Quinnen Williams, who seems like he's going to be a sure thing and immediate impact to their D-line. Polite, if he develops, then that's going to make Mike McCagnon look even better and continue to boost the Jets' front 7. And the tight end from West Virginia. The Jets got a good tight end, Chris Herndon, last year, and he's more of a receiver. But if this kid from West Virginia comes in and can add a complement to blocking, then they're going to be able to run a lot more 2 tight end sets, and the guy can catch passes too. So I think the Jets had a very limited pick but safe draft, and it really made sense given the way the direction of the team is going, being in win now mode.
All right, there you go. Now, Evan, what about you? Jets and Giants draft grades.
I'll definitely. I think I agree with the Jets being a B plus. I think they did a solid job this year. I think that they have the right focus on the defense side first. That's what the Jets need right now. And then we'll see where this goes. I mean, there's it's very hard to say how these players are going to play in the NFL as opposed to college because it's such a different game. But yeah, so I think that they have a solid promise, especially with Le'Veon Bell added to the team. For the Giants, I'm gonna go lower than what you said. I mean, I was reading SB Nation because they grade all the teams, and they were giving them a D plus. I'm not gonna go that low. I'll probably go with a C. I think, as I said, I think that Jones was overdrafted, and I think that he could have even gone for 17, or they could have just gone for a different QB entirely. That being said, I mean, we'll see what happens. And then I think you were right. The picks later on were solid. I forgot his name. Jones. What was his first name? Went fourth round for the Giants. I forgot his name.
Julian Love from Notre Dame.
Oh, Julian Love. Yeah. Sorry, not Jones. Yeah, he's a solid pick. I think that. Yeah. So we'll see. I don't think that the Giant. Maybe I'll skip back. It wasn't the worst ever, or worst. Maybe It was one of the worst this year for sure. Was it the worst? I guess time will tell. So yeah, I mean, you're right that they did balance it out later on. I just think I was really annoyed with their first pick. I think that's what brings the grade down for me. So
it was a large reach, and that's understandable. A lot of people were ticked off and surprised because, you draft for the best player available, and Josh Allen sitting there on the board at 6, which no one expected, and to pass up on him when the defense has been how it's been the last couple of years with no pass rush. That's it was disappointing. I admit too, I was a little disappointed as well.
And I think you guys hit it right ahead. For the Jets, I definitely think B plus. Like you said, Pat, Quentin Williams, I think is going to be a for sure thing. Immediate impact. Help the defense anchor down the middle and disrupt plays and stuff like that. So I think he really carried in where they got him, and the surrounding cast that they drafted as well. They definitely did well and filled some needs and some holes that they definitely needed to be filled. So I think that's around B plus. As for the Giants, I'll go in between both of you. I think it's like a C, B minus. Obviously, like we've been saying, it's a little bit of a reach for Daniel Jones. After he's saying you don't draft for reach or anything like that, what do? Just like we signed Odell Beckham, not to trade him, but we traded Odell Beckham. So I don't know. Gettleman's word at this point. Whatever he says, we're just going to do the opposite. But, whether he would have been there at 17 or not, that, remains to be seen. And that's just, for the past to unfold itself. But obviously the other picks are definitely nice players. Like I said, I still agree with my statement where I think that for where they were, we could have gone. Montez Sweat, which, like I said, I know you were a big fan of. From where we could have gotten him, obviously Josh Allen was there when we, in the top 10, and we didn't think that he'd be there. But I just, as an overall, I think it's like a B minus, more of a B minus than a C. But I definitely think we filled a lot of gaps where we can get this young nucleus and develop, say for a year or nickels and dimes and stuff like that, and then hopefully by the end of the year they're definitely gaining more playing time, and the next year they're already solid, formidable picks that we can be like, all right, this is gonna suck this year, but hopefully within the next year they definitely develop more and then prove to them this is why we drafted them and this is why we're taking these guys at these positions. So
I mean, in terms of building a team, as you said, it does take a year to really have a team grow, because it's not you can't have one player really dominate a team. You know what I mean? It really has to be a team effort. You have to be able to they all have to be able to rely on each other, and so they get that kind of the network that they need. It takes a solid amount of time. Even with somebody like Brady, he's obviously a solid QB, but he has a solid team. Belichick is a great I hate the Patriots, but he is the epitome of a good coach. You know what I mean? He knows what he's doing, and he gets the it's not just
no one's
Brady.
A hero is basically what he's saying.
Exactly.
Everyone fits their role, and that's why the Patriots had so much. You don't when's the last time they had an elite receiver beside Randy Moss? That was years ago, and they never had like an elite receiver. You know, they have Brandon Cooks, but like he never performed to what he is now. Right. But like everyone just fits the role besides Tom Brady, who we all know and we all hate. So
yeah. They're great at drafting. That's what it's all about. And the Giants' last regime was not too good. None of the picks are left here, and Gettleman has been known to be a good drafter with his time with the Carolina Panthers, and his class looked pretty good last year, and if they continue to improve this year, and this class with, it's seemingly at least 3 immediate defensive starters in Love, Baker, and Dexter Lawrence, then I think that this team will definitely be surprising some people this year, and they'll get back to winning hopefully sooner rather than later.
Well, don't we wish it for both the Jets and the Giants? That wraps up today, with our draft recap. This is Evan from thenayo.com and one of my co-hosts, and then from USA Today Sports and Giants and fanside.com. I also have Pat. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Deuces.